network infrastructure diagrams for U.S. government classified networks and other potentially classified U.S. government information. What is going on? Sheesh. What does she know about all this? She's still in government. Why was she telling donors, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, that Hillary had deleted everything? Hasn't she run for re-election a number of times?
Done being lectured on transparency by the same party that orchestrated one of the most shameless, dangerous political cover-ups in the history of this country or any government on the face of planet Earth.
While Obama and Clapper and Brennan and Comey were all colluding to rig the election against President Trump, who had just won in that December meeting, they were trying to smear him as a colluder with Putin. While that was happening, the same FBI that was rigging those claims was rigging the Hillary Clinton investigation. Chuck Grassley released this. It's a declassified appendix that came out in a prior report that has now been authorized for public release by Chairman Grassley, and we're happy to see it. Here's the backstory. Chuck Grassley is now bringing light to the DOJ's Office of Inspector General's findings that the FBI failed to fully investigate Hillary Clinton and the use of her private email server and the mishandling of highly classified information during her time as Secretary of State. They covered all of that up. Trump is a Russian ally. Hillary is innocent of all allegations against her from the same entities that are supposed to be enforcing justice in our country. Sick. The newly declassified Clinton Annex is an appendix of the DOJ's June 2018 report after reviewing the DOJ and FBI's handling of the Clinton investigation. The DOJ, under leadership of Pam Bondi, have now finally given this request over to Chuck Grassley. He's sought this information about the document since 2018, and he sent it again to Bill Barr. Why wouldn't Bill Barr give this record over to Chuck Grassley? Bill, he along with Ron Johnson requested Trump declassify the documents, and Grassley reiterated the request in 2025. Grassley had a statement about it, but it shows that the FBI obtained thumb drives from a source during the Clinton investigation. And what'd they do with them? Just shoved them in a drawer somewhere. But then FBI Director James Comey is like, oh, thanks for all these. As well as Andrew McCabe, lefty FBI special super agent, former FBI special agent Peter Strzok, who had that lover situation, and others failed to perform additional targeted searches of the drives, even though they contained information relevant to the inquiry, because they all just plugged their ears and la la la. Peter Strzok, remember, with his FBI lover, was like, well, stop him. We're the FBI. We're gonna stop Trump. Rigging the whole thing. Never served a day in jail. Never even charged with crimes. The DOJ OIG report illustrates that the FBI failed to thoroughly and completely investigate the Clinton matter. As a result, as well as vet the serious national security risks that Hillary created with her email operation. According to the inspector, the thumb drives contained highly sensitive information exfiltrated from U.S. government agencies. These aren't just Bill Clinton's Facebook photos. They're serious information, including the Department of State, as well as then President Barack Obama's emails and potentially congressional information. The motherlode gets delivered to them. The thumb drives were never reviewed as part of the Clinton investigation, contrary to the recommendation of a draft FBI memo. The DOJ inspector report also shows the drives should have been immediately reviewed for foreign intelligence purposes, but they were not. Here's a little excerpt from that. Writing, second, the inspector learned near the end of our review that the blank data, the Clinton probably data, contains a large volume of emails obtained through blank cyber intrusions into the Department of State and their networks. Wow. The OIG subsequently obtained drafts of a memo created in late May 2016 that requested access to the thumb drives containing Bill's Facebook photos and data for purposes of the mid-year investigation. Now, as described in more detail below, the draft memo stated that review of the thumb drives was necessary to conduct a thorough and complete investigation, obviously, and to assess the national security risks associated with Hillary and her private server that was being hacked all over the place. And the FBI members of the mid-year investigative team described it as a logical investigative lead. However, the inspector says the FBI never finalized the memo or submitted the request to the department. Oh, you're kidding. The FBI also obtained intelligence reports discussing purported communications between Wasserman Schultz, the chairwoman of the DNC at the time, and two different individuals who worked with George Soros and his Open Society Foundation. In fact, the intelligence reports allege that the Obama administration took efforts to scuttle the investigation into Hillary and to protect her candidacy because she was the one who was going to get the boost. Remember, they sidelined Joe Biden because they knew he was demented back then. The DOJ OIG Clinton Annex shows Comey, McCabe, and Strzok, among others, did not make any serious investigative efforts to determine the veracity or anything about these intelligence reports because they're just burying evidence like criminals. On July 5th, Comey exonerated Clinton in a public statement where he rigged the law. Remember, he changed his extremely reckless or grossly negligent, I think he changed to extremely careless or something. What? The statute says grossly negligent. You're like, well, it's just extremely careless. That's pretty close to grossly negligent, isn't it? Yeah, but it's not quite. So nothing's going to happen. On July 5th, Comey exonerated Clinton in a public statement regarding the investigation and recommended the DOJ take no action to hold her accountable because she's Hillary. Instead, they prosecuted Trump 4 times for nothing. Grassley's oversight revealed Comey planned to exonerate Clinton even before interviewing her. Of course, he's on their team. Weeks later, on July 31st, Comey's formally opened a bogus Crossfire Hurricane investigation into Trump that was based on the Steele dossier. And on that same day, Peter Strzok, who's a coward who blocked me on X because he doesn't like criticism, texted Lisa Page, his FBI lover, an FBI lawyer, saying he said this to her. And damn, this feels momentous because this matters, baby. I love you. The other one did too, but that was to ensure we didn't F something up. This matters because this matters. So super glad to be on this voyage with you, said these 2 weird freaks who were having like this love affair. They think they're in a Jason Bourne novel or something because they're idiots. And they're hanging out with each other like, we have to save democracy in America. And we're in love. And they're like in a little hideout, you know, closets at the FBI in the gutters. I don't know, smooching or something. But it is pathetic that nothing happened to them. They got paid money in settlements for being wrongfully terminated by Joe Biden's FBI. Grassley cited Comey's handling of the Clinton investigation as evidence that Comey lacked the ability to maintain the public's trust, and Comey was rightfully terminated. And he should be prosecuted too. Hopefully that's happening very soon. So here's more of the annex. Newly declassified from the Office of the Inspector General, brought to us courtesy of Senator Chuck Grassley, who is amazing, from Iowa. This was never released. Obama and the Biden folks tried to keep this thing under seal. Even Bill Barr tried to keep this under seal during Trump 1, it sounds like. And now it's been released. Thank you, Pam Bondi, for this disclosure. Sending it over to Chuck Grassley. Here's what they write. Blank, blank, blank. Now, in this classified appendix, we discuss a collection of data that was obtained from somebody. And this collection consists of tons of reports purporting to analyze or characterize intercepted U.S. communications, as well as emails and other data intercepted through cyber intrusions into U.S. entities. Now, the investigation into these cyber intrusions and the resulting data collection is known by the code name Clintonitis, sometimes abbreviated Clinton. Now here, the Clinton data has been in the FBI's possession beginning in this time, and the vast majority of the data has never been reviewed by the FBI. Never even looked at it, because what do they care? It would be damning to her campaign, including for counterintelligence purposes, like don't ask, don't tell. Based on concerns, the information might be privileged, right? They just make up reasons why they can't look at these things. Now, redacted is relevant to the mid-year investigation in 2 ways, these Clinton files. First, in this thing and this thing, the FBI obtained these reports purporting to discuss the influence and to influence the mid-year investigation. The initial blank report also suggested that Loretta Lynch and James Comey were interfering in the investigation to help the Democrat and Republican presidential candidates respectively. Interfering to help and to hurt? The second report stated that Loretta Lynch had been in contact with named individuals working for Hillary to provide information about the investigation, right? So now Hillary's like, what are you guys going to reveal? Like, I'm running for president. I can't have any big stories drop. What do you got? As described in more detail below, the FBI determined that these reports were not credible on their face. Nevertheless, as described here and in the unclassified report, Comey cited his concern that these reports would be leaked, which contributed to his decision not to inform Lynch of his plan to make a unilateral statement announcing the conclusion of the investigation. Wow. Okay, so Comey bypassed the rest of the people working on this, because if he told them what he was going to conclude, it would have leaked, and he didn't want that to happen. So they all got like blindsided. He walks out, he's like, this is the announcement, she's innocent. They're like, what? She is? Second, the inspector learned near the end of our review that the Clinton data contains a large volume of emails obtained through blank cyber intrusion. So who is that? Foreign cyber intrusions into the Department of State and their network. It's a small word, so it could be like WikiLeaks or I don't know. The OIG subsequently obtained drafts of the memo created in late May 2016 that requested access to this. Okay, so can you please give us access to this? It contains this data. We're trying to have our mid-year investigation into whether Hillary's a criminal or not. We need the data. As described in more detail, the draft memo stated that the review of the thumb drives was necessary to finish our job. However, the FBI never finalized the memo, never submitted it to the department to get permission to get the documents. Of course, they're just slow walking the investigation. Don't ask, don't tell, you just bury it, and no one will ever know. In the classified appendix, we first provided an overview. They try to steal the election and then cover it up on the back end. Now, beginning in this time, the FBI obtained thumb drives for a blank source. This guy's known as T1. These drives contain a lot of Clinton data, including Bill Clinton's Facebook photos that he saves at 2 a.m. in the morning. Lock your profiles down. The content exfiltrated from U.S. victims of this computer network intrusion as well. The FBI refers to all data acquired from this guy as the Clinton data. According to FBI witnesses and documents, the FBI obtained 8 thumb drives from T1 between these people and these people, all of which are in FBI custody. Interesting. T1 continued to provide additional something communications and documents about how we got these drives, and this data is referred to as Post 8 data or Mission Ridge data. Now here's what's inside, and I see Obama's name coming up. The first 5 thumb drives were obtained by the FBI in this place. These thumb drives primarily contain data exfiltrated from some spy from various U.S. victims, including the Executive Office of the President, the State Department, the House of Representatives, other federal agencies, and everybody. FBI employees told us it was highly likely that the data exfiltrated from other unknown U.S. victims was also present on the thumb drives. I mean, just look at the offices that had their data jacked. In blank, FBI personnel something processed something, the first 5 thumb drives. Instead, they reviewed data on the thumb drives and determined that it contained U.S. victim information. So then the FBI told us the data on the first 5 thumb drives looks like it came from this person because the FBI personnel could see that that was probably an official employee, somebody who's here doing this, doing this. Examples of U.S. victim information that they observed include this review included Obama's emails, possible evidence of a hack intrusion into the something advanced intelligence about a planned FBI arrest of a Russian citizen, network infrastructure diagrams for U.S. government classified networks, and other potentially classified U.S. government information. What is going on? Sheesh. They have everything? Like, do they have the computer? Do they just take the whole thing? Saying here, one FBI employee told us the thumb drives 3 and 4 focus primarily on State Department, while another FBI witness stated that an estimated % of the data on the first 5 thumb drives pertained to the State Department. According to an FBI employee we interviewed, the blank maintained a blank intrusion into the State Department for approximately however many years. Hillary's like, oh great, which was the reason for a large quantity of State Department data in the collection. Totally wide open. Witnesses told us that the FBI has never comprehensively reviewed the thumb drives, which is completely intentional. Beginning in late whatever, there were discussions within the FBI and the DOJ about how to review the data. An Office of General Lawyer for the FBI said, well, we're concerned. There could be like victim data on there. Okay, so this lawyer comes out, is trying to find every reason possible not to look at the thumb drives because it's going to be wrecking Hillary. According to FBI witnesses, officials raised privilege concerns and a bunch of other things because it's like a treasure trove of Hillary's debauchery. Now, continuing, the data on the first 5 thumb drives has been queried 3 times since this date. In early 2016, the FBI also obtained permission from the White House counsel and the Office of the Deputy Attorney General to conduct queries using keywords with this. Now, these queries revealed that so-and-so was targeting this person, and the FBI subsequently sought and obtained approval to conduct a second set of queries with these terms. However, then we got in there and there's victim data, and so the FBI was unable to review any of these communications. Now, during the blank searches, FBI analysts used a program to create a word cloud. Oh, those are fun. You see those on blogs. Of the words extracted from U.S. victim content on the first 5 drives, which they refer to as an index. What are the words? In August 2017, an FBI attorney granted permission to an analyst to query this and told the FBI analyst viewed some data. The additional queries conducted by this employee included Clinton, which returned a lot of hits, and ClintonEmail.com, which returned, it looks like, fewer hits. After reviewing a draft of this appendix, one FBI witness told the inspector that these searches likely did not comport with the review protocols, which are discussed below. And they're going to explain how they're going through each various drive. We got this thumb drive 8, never looked at, never reviewed by the FBI, because it would be devastating to Hillary. Its contents is unknown. Do we have it? I'll plug it in. Is it USB-A? Probably, right? That's okay. I figure it out. Its content is unknown and was only uploaded onto the FBI system in early 2018. Don't even know. Several witnesses told us that they believe it contains victim data related to the president's office, the State Department, and the House of Representatives, and that it may duplicate their information that is on other thumb drives because T1 copied and pasted and made backups. Now, one FBI witness told us that thumb drive 8 fell through the cracks, I'm sure, because the FBI received it after thumb drive 6 and 7. It's like crazy. I mean, like, they don't let DUI blood samples like fall through the cracks, generally speaking. Like, it's like, in other words, like, it's very, very tight process. Like a regular standard DUI that happens 1,000 times a day. They don't just like lose blood or like not analyze it. It does happen, but it's a very rare thing. And that's happening thousands of times. So the FBI, in one of the biggest investigations in the entire nation, that fell through the cracks. It's like, what are you doing? You're lying is what you're doing. We know it didn't fall through the cracks, and we know what happened. Somebody's covering it up. In addition to the data on the thumb drives, T1 also provided provided the intelligence community, including the FBI redacted. Referred to as post-8 data, they said it covers all these other reports and more victim data and more. Now, in this section, we talk about other reports that suggest that Obama's Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, was trying to influence the Hillary Clinton investigation because they wanted her to run and win. In addition, the first report suggested that Comey was also taking steps to help undermine the Democratic Party. Okay, so like two different things. And they blame Comey for a lot of this. Like they blame Comey for Hillary's loss, even though Hillary was just terrible. I think Comey gave her a gift, really. He could have come out and indicted her, and that would have really wrecked things. Now, as described in the section, witnesses told us that the reports were not credible on their face, and including reports that they contained that the FBI knew were objectively false. Now, despite that assessment, Comey told the inspector that he was concerned that information might leak, and that this concern was a factor, and it told him why he didn't tell Loretta Lynch in Obama's office of his plan to make the statement, right? He kind of came out, made that statement, they all got blindsided. Now, he says, Discovery also, in this date, the blank brought to the attention of the FBI Cyber Division that something in the documents mentioned Loretta Lynch. They were identified and translated into English. Both documents appear to be something reports, probably intelligence reports, discussing purported communications between Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was at the time the chairwoman of the DNC, and two different individuals who worked for George Soros. The FBI later determined that these things would have obtained any communications underlying the two reports, and if there was a cyber intrusion into the Atlantic Council, which is a private think tank. Now, the first section of the report is dated, and it says, recent information appearing in the media about the FBI investigating possible facts of corruption in connection with Hillary and maybe granting preferences to Clinton fund donors created a negative reaction within the party. Though this information was known to Democratic Party leaders, according to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, so far, the FBI does not have any hard evidence against Hillary Clinton because data was removed from the mail servers just in time. Hillary! And this was in this report, okay? They were all talking about it. They know Hillary Clinton covered it up just in time. Obama is not in the mood. This is what Debbie Wasserman is telling other George Soros people, okay? Debbie Wasserman Schultz, you know her, you can't miss her. You see her once, you never forget. And she was out there telling George Soros people, Hillary's gonna be fine, okay? Don't worry about it. Keep those money chains flowing. Then Obama is not in the mood to mar the very final segment of his presidency, his legacy, with a scandal around the leading nominee for the Democrat Party. You think Obama is going to let James Comey come out and indict Hillary Clinton in the months before an election in his own administration for State Department emails? Never going to happen. No, they have to rig it against Trump with some fake Russia collusion hoax. Obama's not in the mood to follow the law. So he doesn't want to deal with this. To deal with this, he's using Loretta Lynch to mount a pressure campaign on James Comey. Debbie Wasserman is saying, so far, no concrete results on this. Now, Comey is leaning more to Republicans. They were very nervous. And most likely, he's going to be dragging this investigation until the presidential elections, was their thesis, in order to effectively undermine the chances for the Democrats to win. That's not true at all. He came out, right, in an attempt to exonerate Hillary. He could have indicted her. He tried to come out and take it off the table for her. The second report is also dated this date, and verbatim translation reads in the following. Again, so this is from Democrat insiders communicating to each other. By way of forming a consensus relative to the candidacy of Hillary, Obama and the party sanctioned the use of all administrative levers, okay, to remove possibly negative effects of the FBI investigation of Clinton Foundation and the State Department emails. Barack Obama is a corrupt criminal who abused his office to prevent a lawful investigation into a criminal called Hillary. Based upon information from Wasserman Schultz, the FBI does not anticipate any direct evidence against Hillary, as there was timely deletion from the email servers, right? So her phones got tapped or something. She's admitting it. No, Hillary, the cover-up was successful. Don't worry about it. The political director of the Hillary Clinton staff, called Amanda Renteria, regularly receives information from Attorney General Loretta Lynch, siphoning information to her campaign on the plans and the intentions of the FBI. The DOJ is getting updated from the FBI. She's passing it over to Hillary. You guys are fine. You're not going to be indicted. Active work is being done on clarification with witnesses. The primary primary witnesses are a number of computer specialists in the Clinton private circle. They represent the only tools which may be used in this matter, and therefore the threat is minimal. Hillary's not going to get charged. We covered it up. Don't worry about it. Now, the FBI Cyber Division provided copies of these intelligence reports to the mid-year team, and it's a cover-up in addition to the crime. And the FBI's like, well, she was just careless. There's no intentionality. She didn't intend to do any of this stuff. Yes, she did, and she intended to cover it up. We're watching it happen right now. And they knew about it. Didn't tell us any of it. All this classified until today. Lawyers in the FBI and the Cyber Law Unit, they also brought copies of these reports to Tricia at the FBI Deputy General Counsel. She didn't care either. According to an email dated March 16, 2016, at the request of Peter Strzok, the FBI lover, we will stop him, a lead agent on the mid-year investigation, which was ridiculous, and the lead analyst on a mid-year cyber division analyst, these searches revealed something that is redacted. Now, Peter Strzok and the lead analyst also requested a counterintelligence division analyst to run keyword searches for these terms, also Lynch, Clinton, and Comey. And the FBI wrote some reports. Comey and McCabe were informed about the reports, but witnesses did not recall precisely when those took place. McCabe told the inspector that they discussed internally whether there were any investigative steps that would allow them to validate this information in the reports, like the FISA warrant or a subpoena for Lynch's emails. Should we investigate them for trying to cover this up? Now, Comey, McCabe, Anderson, and Jim Rybicki, Comey's chief of staff, were all involved in those discussions. McCabe said they considered asking T1 to get additional information. Like, where are these leads coming from? How are you getting all this? But that there were legal concerns. Now, McCabe told the inspector that they agreed there were no obvious next steps and decided to consult with the Deputy Attorney General, who was the highest ranking career department official. And so they just went over to them and they said, hey, your boss might be involved in an investigation for corruption. What should we do about it? To the DOJ. Then Anderson summarized the FBI's assessment. According to the memo, the FBI did not view the information in the reports as credible, of course. Most importantly, the FBI said that Comey told the inspector, he said, I want to be clear on this. I had felt no effort to control me, no intervention by the Attorney General. And so I didn't find these communications to be credible. Like, it's only Debbie Wasserman Schultz just trying to assure donors it's not a big cover up. So I didn't find them credible that there was any evidence of actual intentionality from Clinton. It came from Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who led the DNC. Comey told the OIG that no one believed that the reports were an attempt that were purposeful misinformation by the Russians, that they also did not discredit the underlying information in them. Right, so he believes some fake report about a steel PP tape, but doesn't believe the words from Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Wild. He said that he focused on figuring out what the reports mean as a counterintelligence matter. Now, McCabe and Anderson also similarly stated that the FBI did not feel pressured by Lynch and that there was no wrongdoing here. According to the memo, other factors also weighed against finding that these stories were credible. So they're covering up for Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She should be subpoenaed and brought in here. What does she know about all this? She's still in government. Why was she telling donors, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, that Hillary had deleted everything? Hasn't she run for re-election a number of times? The reports likely reflected multiple levels of hearsay. Incredible. You mean the steel PP tape didn't? Wasserman Schultz communications may have contained exaggerations. It covering up for her. They also said, well, these are opinions and editorialization, and there's probably translation errors. So we just didn't understand her. When asked about the impact of these reports, McCabe said, well, we absolutely believe that the collection is righteous, and we have no reason to question any of these things. And of course, we know it was the Russians. And there were more meetings with the department. FBI officials gave the report, say, can you guys look into these? But they wanted to cover it up too. The report states the group considered and rejected the idea of asking Lynch about it. We've got evidence that she's helping to cover it up. No one wants to talk about it. Now, following a March meeting, March 31st, Anderson and the FBI James Baker, general counsel, remember Michael Sussman went to meet with him. So it went Mark Elias at Perkins Coie. They hired Fusion GPS, got the PP tape, gave that over to Michael Sussman. He ran that over to FBI, met with James Baker, simultaneously fed that to the media, consulted with the Office of Intelligence regarding whether the FBI could legally even ask about this. They concluded that a request would be lawful as long as the informant, the source, didn't conduct additional data collection because he was stealing the data. Now, on May 4th, Anderson sent a request to someone trainer with a draft to be provided back to that person to talk to him about continuing his op. On July 1st, 16, McCabe and others held a conference call, and all of the participants on the call agreed that the information in these reports was not credible. So we don't believe it at all. Can we investigate this? Not really. Comey told the inspector that he was aware the group had discussed getting phone records, but said it's not going to be helpful, saying that if you get the phone calls between Lynch and this person, he said, you know, that's a fairly aggressive step to be getting phone records of a senior campaign official. Like, if Lynch is talking to Hillary's person, we don't want to even look into that. Instead, we're going to go get a FISA warrant for Trump's campaign. We don't want to look into Hillary's campaign, who's getting active intelligence from the Department of Justice to obstruct a criminal investigation of her that Obama is creating so that his State Department is not caught in a scandal covering up the actual criminality while prosecuting his political opponent. Because, okay, the Attorney General of the United States knows somebody on the Clinton campaign. He says, so what? There's communications between us. So how is that helping us? Says James Comey. Comey also stated that his understanding was that we thought obtaining the phone records would take us down a pretty dark path. So then Axelrod and Carlin and others come in. He told Axelrod and others, and meetings differed. Yates told us the FBI described the information as fake intel. Oh, it's fake. Oh, it was created by the Russians. Oh, so they were spoofing Debbie's words. Got it. She said that she asked whether the FBI planned to interview Wasserman Schultz. No, it was Russian collusion. John Brennan's like, this has all the hallmarks of a Russian intelligence operation. John Brennan. Stop it, John. Come up with some new material. Says, Yates stated, I just remembered that they didn't come in saying we're concerned that it's true. We're just letting you know that it's out there. The Russians probably did it because the Russians are doing everything. Saying, we're not even going to investigate whether Lynch is biased at all. Axelrod described the meeting with the FBI as a defensive briefing. He said he recalled that McCabe and Anderson either showed them an email or orally described an interceptive communication saying that Lynch had put her thumb on the scale to influence the investigation. Axelrod told the OIG that McCabe and Anderson presented the information as lacking credibility and that he left the meeting with the impression that it was a big nothing burger. Now, after reviewing the two reports and being asked whether these were documents that were shown by the FBI, Axelrod said, never seen those before. Now, it's possible I could have been shown those, but I don't recall seeing those. Others say we don't recall the meeting. Everybody suddenly loses their brain cells. And then there was a meeting between AG Lynch. McCabe and Anderson met with Lynch. Maybe ask her about this. They described the meeting as a defensive briefing and said that a member of her staff who handled these issues attended the meeting with her. McCabe told the inspector that he showed the two blank reports, the intelligence reports, to Lynch, and he said this information came from T1. Lynch did not respond to the information in the reports, saying, as she read them, and I will probably never forget, this guy says, he's like, I just showed the Attorney General of the United States, we've got you, lady. She reads the reports, and he says, and I will probably never forget. She just finished reading them and said, okay. I mean, like, I expected more of a reaction than that. Like, I expected, like, this is crazy. I never talked to that person, but she was absolutely stone-faced and said nothing about the content of the memos, which I don't know how to interpret that. So her poker face is on point, man. We've got evidence from Debbie, the DNC chair, that you're passing her information, that they're passing to Hillary, and we got you like dead to rights. We show it to you, and she doesn't move a muscle. Even the agent's like, damn. McCabe said that he had interacted frequently with Lynch in the mornings, and she was engaging and polite and well-spoken. And he thought that her lack of reaction to the substance of the reports was odd. Even Annie McCabe. What? Anderson said that McCabe walked Lynch through the two reports. So, well, here's what it says. And that Lynch had several questions. Anderson recalled one question in particular about Russians. Well, did the Russians put that in there? Did Putin do that? Stating that Lynch was careful in her response to McCabe not to suggest any investigative steps that they should take. Well, there's a lot of Russian influence, she's probably saying. Did you guys check into the Russians? Regarding her reaction to the substance of the reports, this guy Anderson said, she made a reference to Amanda Rentera, Clinton's person. She kind of stumbled over the name and pronounced it differently than we had all been pronouncing it internally. And I think she did say, I don't even know who she is or something to that effect, to make it clear to us, from her perspective, the idea of contact between the two of them was not credible. She's like, Amanda Renteria. So I don't even know who this person is. We never talk at all. They're like, you know, it's Amanda Rentera. All right, you know it. Says she was sort of like, I don't even know who this person is. Anderson said that on the walk back to the FBI while they're just like skipping down, corruption avenue, she and McCabe discussed the circumspect nature of Lynch's reaction to the information. Oh, she and McCabe talked about that. And the fact that Lynch did not comment on its veracity. It's like, I thought that was very interesting how you responded. Anderson acknowledged that the meeting was not accusatory or akin to an FBI interview, and they did not ask Lynch directly about her opinion of the reports. It's just showing her. But that it was a little bit weird that she did not affirmatively offer a disavowal of them. Like she could have just said, okay, well, obviously you know that these reports are not true. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I'll investigate it. Thanks for updating me. Great job. Report received. Thank you. But I don't want you guys to worry about it. We're good. All right, anyways. Anderson described Lynch as quiet and calm in reacting to this. She's like, don't say a dang thing, because she knows better. Now, Lynch had a different recollection of the meeting. She's, I didn't just say that. No, what are you talking about? She said she recalled that McCabe told her that the FBI had information she needed to be aware of, but that they had looked at and determined it had no investigative value. So she's like, well, they came in and told me it was nothing. So that's why there's nothing. She said that McCabe told her the FBI did not plan to take investigative steps with respect to it, nor were they recommending that she take any investigative steps. She said she understood the FBI consulted with them and they all agreed. So she's like, okay, thanks for telling me. Nothing's going to happen. Great. thanks for covering up for me. Have a nice one. According to Lynch, McCabe explained to her that they did not have the underlying communications, that the reports were purported on, and that they were credible. She said, well, as I said, well, just so you know, I do not know anyone named Amanda, okay? And I said, do you know if Miss Rentira knows anyone on my staff or anyone used from my office? And he said, well, we've not taken steps toward that end, and we're not recommending that you do. He's like, well, I don't know her. Maybe someone in my office? Do you know anybody in my office? And like, are you looking into this? Like, no, we're not. Okay. Are you going to? No. Do you think you need to? No. Okay. Well, if you don't want to, and you don't think I should, then I won't. And as I said, but just to be clear, I don't know the woman involved, Miss Renteria. I've never had any conversations with her like that or anyone. And I said, if you choose to do so, if you'd like to interview anyone on my staff, including me, you're free to do so. I'm an open book. He said, thank you very much. We appreciate that, but we're not going to be taking any steps. We're going to cover this up for you. Don't worry about it. I said, all right. And I said, by you recommending that I don't take action, then I'm guessing you don't want to interview me. And he said, yeah, that's right. So, okay, I was just clarifying. He did not imply that I should or anything like that. And he again said that this was not a matter that was going to cause them to do anything. And so don't worry about it. We got it all covered up, Loretta. Have a nice day. She said that she did not have any further discussions about any of it. And after reviewing the copies, Lynch stated she never saw them before. She said that McCabe presented a truncated version of this about alleged conversations with Debbie and Amanda. Lynch said that there was no truth to the underlying allegations in the two reports. She was never in communication with anyone related to the Clinton campaign at all. Totally innocent. Lynch said that even though she met with Bill Clinton on the tarmac, Lynch said that she would have liked to have known about the reports in the spring. She said that this was when Comey commented, and she doesn't want false allegations floating out there. They're not false. We know they're true. Now, the member of Lynch's staff who attended the meeting described the conversation with McCabe as very brief. Said, I remember the attorney general saying, I don't know who this person is. I've never had any contact with them. We were all like, what is this? This makes no sense at all. I just remember her saying, I haven't had any conversations with, Debbie or that lady Amanda, but she really didn't say much. Both of them were outrightly dismissive of this. Both were incredulous. Like, what is this? This is very odd because we got caught. And they're just playing patty cake, right, with each other. Now, there was also data that was exfiltrated, okay? We had, remember Gouveia 2.0 and WikiLeaks? As detailed in the report, the intelligence community said that the Russians did hack some emails and that their cyber espionage was against targets of both major political parties. And something penetrated the DNC computer systems in 2015. Now, in March, the Russian military, the GRU, conducted intrusions into the DNC. According to the FBI, that's the CrowdStrike security report. Blogger called Gouveia started releasing the emails, as we recall. Comey told the inspector that Gouveia and the leaks began being dumped by Russian intelligence, saying they've been very aggressive about this, starting in the summer of 2015, dropping the emails. The dump from the DC leaks in Gouveia was active measures from Russia. Comey told everybody that the releases were causing me concern about Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So it could be fake, right? Never let a crisis go to waste. Their emails got hacked and they say, well, the Russians did it. So now our real emails that implicate us are products of Russian misinformation. So there were more releases, bunch of emails in there. We saw John Podesta, Ian Malou, Caprica Marshall, and several of those came out and were interesting. However, FBI Attorney 1 said they really didn't discuss those leaks and that although these impacted the decision, he did not recall that those reports were discussed in the fall of 16. So then Comey testified. He explained his reasons for not telling the Justice Department about his announcement. And they also described that in their classified report. And when all this came down, Sally Yates stated, and yet not only was I not aware of what they were doing, again, when I was having meetings with the director and strategizing about this, asked about this testimony, Yates stated, I was shocked by that. I just felt like it was horribly unfair for him to take something he knew not to be true, that he never expressed to us as having any concern about, and then publicly talked about it in front of Congress. I thought it was really unfair to Hillary. They were mad at him for that. And he was covering up for her. I mean, if you knew the truth of it, she should have been indicted clearly. It was almost, I know something you don't, but I can't tell you what it was. And so it was a problem. Now, near the end of our review, the inspector says, and after we had completed nearly all of our interviews, we also got emails from the FBI system saying that FBI lawyers drafted a memo saying, can you please give us this material? Over the course of a dozen interviews with mid-year team and senior FBI officials, including highly classified, compartmented interviews pertaining to these intelligence reports, no witnesses mentioned the existence of the draft memo or that there had been discussions about requesting access to thumb drives. This was so despite the inspector's practice of asking witnesses whether there was information the FBI wanted to obtain and could not, whether the FBI could obtain that it could get everything or missing anything they needed. When asked why no one mentioned the request to search for these thumb drives, witnesses stated they did not recall the existence of the memo until they brought it to their attention. Okay, so either they're all all liars, or they just, did a good job of burying it. Like there's so many memos, it's kind of security by obscurity. There's one request for some thumb drives, like, hundreds of requests that go out every month. So this one request for a thumb drive comes through, they kind of forget about it, move on to the next bit of evidence because, the main driver who's assigned that evidence is not pursuing it. And so it all just kind of slips by through the cracks. Everyone is presuming that everybody else is handling it, but the person who's responsible for that evidence is burying it. Based on this new information, we conducted limited re-interviews to ask about that memo. However, for various reasons, we were unable to re-interview several officials involved in it, including Comey and McCabe, because of course they don't want to talk. On May 10th, Comey held a meeting with FBI senior officials and the mid-year team. Notes taken by Peter Strzok indicate that the discussion at this meeting included the thumb drives. They then all forgot about it. Maybe Peter Strzok was the one responsible for it and buried it. Has T1 asked selectors, is what he wrote. Request to DAG for thumb access. T1 provided the selectors. Letter from the AG to the DD re Clinton selectors. Strzok told the inspector that while he was aware of the issue and remembered discussions about the thumb drives, any decisions made about the thumb drives were above my level. So Strzok, I didn't bury it, someone else did. He said that everyone thought that the thumb drives were something that the FBI needed to review, but they didn't. Anderson, were you responsible for this? Anderson said she recalled mentioning the issue at a meeting with Comey around the same time the FBI was engaged in efforts on other laptops, told the inspector that she had been involved in a request to the department for the first 5 thumb drives, and she wanted to make sure they were thinking about the data. She also talked with FBI Attorney 1, and that attorney assigned her to write the memo, so she started the memo draft. Then FBI Attorney 1, as the mid-year team neared the end of the investigation, they met weekly with Comey to discuss what needed to be done. As noted in the unclassified report, Comey told the mid-year team in early May that there was an extraordinary sense of urgency to complete this investigation, okay? Hillary needed it done and off the table. She wanted Comey to come out and give her an exoneration. He came out and kind of split it on it. Didn't charge her, should have, covered the whole thing up for her and Loretta, who was leaking information back to her campaign, but they still were mad about it. Now, FBI Attorney 1 said the FBI had been seeking access to the thumb drives and that at one of these meetings, either Anderson or Baker raised issues that they should review the thumb drive. But FBI Attorney 1 said she did not recall Comey having a reaction to that suggestion, but he was supportive of taking whatever necessary steps. And there were drafts. FBI Attorney 1 actually sent an email to Strzok and the lead analyst saying, here's a rough draft on the thumb drive memo. The email attached a draft memo from McCabe to Yates saying we want access for the first 5 thumb drives and incorrectly stated there were 7, saying we must review these things. We've already conducted a review of those, is what the memo was explaining. We need to look at these things. There are press reports that these came from Hillary servers. We need to look at the accuracy. We've already conducted a review of these other drives. During the course of the review, keyword searches will not be sufficient. The FBI proposes reviewing these things to get further detail, okay? So this is why we need to do it. The draft memo provided proposed procedures for how we review this and a small number of employees. In an email, Peter Strzok said, looks good to me. I think there are now 8, not 7 thumb drives though, so there's a lot of them. So then FBI Attorney 1 also sent a copy of the draft to Anderson. Anderson provided the copy of the draft as well. One of Anderson's comments said, well, in explaining the relevance, we should address the time frame since Hillary left in 13. So then on May 27th, another attorney sent a revised draft to Anderson, Strzok, the lead analyst, and the attorney in the cyber law unit. It addressed other comments, and it stated, says the FBI investigation has determined that approximately 2,000 emails found on Clinton's servers contained top secret SAP level. These emails included senders and recipients from the Department of State, and it was exfiltrated by bad actors. Redacted, redacted, redacted. Moreover, the FBI must determine if they were successfully able to exfiltrate more data and compromise more. We were unable to identify any additional drafts of this memo, so it just got stopped on that. Evidence that this request was ever finalized all ended. So that report comes out, and it looks like the chain kind of ended there. Okay, so FBI Attorney 1, why didn't that attorney, who is that? Why didn't that attorney follow up on this? Like, hey guys, need reaction to the memo. Peter Strzok knows there's 8 thumb drives around. Everybody just kind of forgets about it. We were unable to identify any additional drafts. Now, witnesses told us that the memo was never finalized, just kind of died. Although notes obtained by the inspector indicate that members of the team discussed the draft, witnesses differed on who made the decision to forego a review of the thumb drive. Nobody is responsible. Isn't that incredible? It's just security by obscurity. It just kind of dies out. It's bureaucratic dead ends. However, despite statements in the draft memo about the need to review, no witnesses we interviewed told us they thought the information would have changed the outcome of the investigation. Now, when asked what happened after she sent the draft, the attorney number 1 told the inspector that she did not recall, but she thought the mid-year team got sidetracked with their efforts to obtain laptops used by Clinton and to call all of this. They just said, oh, it's just priority. Well, yeah, the thumb drives was certainly something we thought thought we should do, but was it something as important as getting the other laptops? No way. And I thought we had to get the laptops, and that was way more important, so just forgot about it. Oh no. FBI Attorney 1 said she did not recall additional discussions about the thumb drives. Just say the issue just dropped off. How convenient. She said that the team was meeting with Comey on a weekly basis, asked whether the FBI viewed their request to search the thumb drives as critical. She said, I don't think it was essential that we looked at it, redacted. I think the chances that it would have been really important to our case were minimal. Attorney 1 also said she drafted the memo and others, including Strzok and the lead analyst, had not looked into the issue to determine whether those thumb drives were even needed for their investigation. And Peter Strzok was asked about this, and he rejected the idea. It's not our job to look at the thumb drives. He said reviewing the thumb drives, it was not a logical lead. It was not one that was necessary for the investigation, and so we can review evidence as we want. And our decision not to send the memo to the deputy AG was made above my level. Someone told me not to do it. And I don't know where the decision came from. It was opaque. So who told you not to send it then? I don't know. Above my pay grade. Well, who specifically communicated that to you? When asked whether the mid-year team did not seek to review the thumb drives because they were under pressure, he quickly replied no. After reviewing a draft of the classified appendix, the lead analyst also rejected the idea that the analytical teams were responsible for the final memo. We didn't do it. The lead analyst also told the inspector that he considered the thumb drive to be unavailable to the team. He said it was impossible to divorce the request to search the thumb drives from a protracted battle within the DOJ. The lead analyst explained the White House and the department made the determination that there's victim information in there and you can't look at that. It's too harmful. And so the cover-up was well underway. Now, in conclusion, as a result of all this, the recommendation is that Comey told the inspector that they never saw any actions. Comey was concerned that this was not credible, and all of the information about Hillary getting information from Loretta Lynch is just Russian disinformation, apparently. Now, as described above, the blank reports also included an allegation, equally lacking in credibility, that Comey was leaning more to Republicans. No basis for that. And most likely, he's going to be dragging this out. Now, as a result, we did not find Comey's concerns that information about Lynch in the intelligence reports or underlying communications would be released would be a persuasive justification for departing from acting unilaterally to announce the FBI's recommendation. So in other words, Comey screwed up there. Now, as described above, witness told us that State Department communications on the thumb drives redacted. I wonder what that sentence says. Although thumb drives might contain relevant information, such as archived emails, they said, we don't think it's going to be material. Nevertheless, there are security risks in those emails. The May 2016 draft characterizes them as having security risks, like they acknowledged it even in their own investigation. And so in assessing the FBI's handling of this, we're mindful of the analytical framework. And so we understand that the FBI is submitting a memo and they're doing their own comprehensive review of this to figure out why this happened and how it cannot happen again. So no real recommendations on that, but good exposure. And you can see, man, how this stuff works. The FBI goes in, has conversations with their bosses who are all a part of the operation to try to achieve their political ends. And they just play this little game of patty cake, right? Where they just, oh, hey, Loretta, we caught you sending information, but okay, you going to do anything about it? No. Okay, then thank you for telling me. They papered their file, so they're clear. She's good. They say it's Russian disinformation. James Comey's in on the operation. They tried to steal the entire election. Now they're screaming at Trump and Republicans about transparency or whatever. And Mike Johnson and the Republicans came out today to explain back to the Democrats, they're the liars. We're finally getting transparency for once after all of these coup attempts and corruption from the Obama administration to rig an entire, essentially criminal allegation, a prosecution against the president, saying there was Russia collusion between his campaign to try to deviate the outcome of the election after Hillary lost, all the way up through John Brennan's laptop cover-up and more. Here now Mike Johnson is saying the truth is coming out.
Done being lectured on transparency by the same party that orchestrated one of the most shameless, dangerous political cover-ups in the history of this country or any government on the face of planet Earth. If the Democrats want to talk transparency, I'm happy to rewind the tape. 366 days ago, President Joe Biden was unceremoniously forced off the Democrat ticket. Everybody knows why. Even after millions of Americans had already cast their primary votes for him, the self-proclaimed party of democracy threw out their nominee, the sitting president of the United States, for his disastrous debate performance. On the debate stage, President Biden revealed to the American people what Democrats in Congress spent 4 long years trying to hide, that the President of the United States of America was in rapid mental decline and unable to continue serving as the leader of the free world. I'm going to say that again. The man holding the most powerful office on the face of the earth, who we now know was being propped up by his staff and Democrats in Congress, was in rapid mental decline. It was as shocking as it was dangerous, and they all participated in it. Nearly every single one of the Democrats who shamelessly attempted to pull the wool over our eyes still holds office today.
Yep.
You ought to be chasing them down the hallways asking for their responses on that. We released a 14-minute-long video yesterday with just a small sample of the countless receipts of the Democrats at every level spinning this fantastical lie to the American people. I encourage every reporter in this room to go watch that. You ought to use the clips and you ought to go ask them about it. And remember that the same Democrats who lied to us for years are now trying to convince you they stand for transparency. They participated in one of the greatest political scandals in all of history, and the House Republicans are not going to allow this to be whitewashed from the historical record. We'll continue to investigate and shine light on those who perpetrated this and provide.
Good. We hope so. And they are still around. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was making calls to donors saying, I'm getting information from the Justice Department that Hillary's going to not get indicted because we're rigging that on the back end. All of that now exposed, and she's still serving in Florida. Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Loretta Lynch and the rest of them all still laughing about this without any consequences thus far. But that is hopefully going to change.